Just when you thought Bryan Kohberger couldn't sink any lower, he does. In what many are calling the final insult to the victims' families. Kohberger is fighting to pay any court-ordered compensation to relatives of the victims, like Ethan Chapin's parents, who spoke to NBC News recently about the plea deal and how the case has been hanging over the heads of so many.
I think our initial response was like an eye for an eye. But then we've spent a ton of time talking about it with prosecutors. And for us, we always felt like this was a better deal. I mean, he gets put away and there's no appeal system to it. And there were so many kids, including our own, that had been subpoenaed that no longer have this hanging over their heads. I mean, we just all get to go live our life.
So why the refusal to pay up? Well, in a court filing, Kohberger's attorneys say that he shouldn't have to pay because the families took GoFundMe money, adding that Kohberger can't pay anyways because he's locked up and not working. Kohberger reportedly owes about $300,000 in fines and restitution payments combined. So let's discuss. Let's bring back in our legal eagles, Rick Grundy and Matt Timpanik. Matt, I'll start with you. Your thoughts, please.
It's just a ridiculous assertion by Bryan Kohberger. When restitution is ordered, that needs to be paid. So the argument that they accepted GoFundMe money is not going to fly with the court. I still don't know how he's going to eventually pay, but the fact that he's trying to get out of doing so is just not going to work for the court.
Definitely. Rick, your thoughts here, please.
I agree with everything Matt said, but, I'm going to throw a little blame on the prosecution. It set it up for a problem. This is a guy who, in his plea, he pleaded to save his own life. He showed no remorse for what he did. He had an opportunity to say something to those families. No, not gonna. The 2 days when it was announced and then when they actually did the plea were cold and shaking as to how this person presented himself. So then you put ties on him that allow him to torture this family a little bit more. So I think, just put him away. You have no other obligations. We need not hear from you ever again.
Oh, I like that. Rick. Yeah, these families do not deserve to experience any more mental anguish than they already have. Matt, let's talk about how insulting it is, how his lawyers argued in the brief, well, they got GoFundMe money. Well, like when they attacked the charity of all these wonderful people who care so much about those families and the losses they've experienced, to me, I thought that was just a really, really poor judgment by his lawyers. What do you say?
I just have to say they're trying to make any kind of argument that would satisfy the representation of their client so he doesn't file some bar complaint that wouldn't go anywhere. That's just kind of what it feels like. It's just throwing anything against the wall to see it will stick. And the problem is when you actually go to do this at a hearing, the judge is going to be like, are you guys sticking to this? And it puts them in a position to try to spin something else or to double down on it. But I just have to think his attorneys are throwing anything against the wall and be done with this representation once and for all.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Matt. Rick, we know that he's not going to be able to pay back this entire amount of money. It's just the reality. He's locked up. He's not working. However, inmates can make a little bit of money, can't they? Aren't there jobs within prisons that could be done potentially for him to pay something?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't speak to this particular prison system, but in those that I'm aware of, absolutely, they get jobs. They get paid a pittance, but it's a pittance that means something to them because it goes into their canteen to give them that little extra pleasures of prison life. In this situation, I think if I was the prosecution, I would just file in response that he's broken the plea deal and we're putting the death penalty back on the table.
Oh, I love that, Rick Grundy. Say it again for the people in the back. So they can do that. Let's back the truck up a minute. Legally, these prosecutors could do that if they wish.
I believe so. Certainly under my jurisdiction, we could. This was something you agreed to. You're not following through on it. I find your argument to be trivial. So cards are back on the table.
Let's go. Boy, I love that idea. Matt Timpanic, quickly, do you love it too?
I do. It'll be interesting to see how they do it in Idaho. Like in Florida, if it was made a condition of probation, they could absolutely revoke, like violate his probation. And yeah, it could potentially, that argument could be made.
Right, revoke him, potentially resentence him. Yeah. To be continued. We're out of time.